Habaragani in Swahili means what's the word? And what is the word on the fifth day of Kwanzaa? The fifth day of Kwanzaa, the principle is nia, which means purpose in Swahili. To make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community, to restore our people to their traditional greatness. To speak, we have Reverend Keishawn Niblett, affectionately known as Pastor K. Keishawn Niblett is the servant leader and pastor of High Ridge Missionary Baptist Church in Martinsville, Virginia. Pastor Niblett has pursued an academic background in both history and education. Pastor Niblett teaches middle school history and social studies and also serves as community outreach coordinator for the International Civil Rights Center and Museum in Greensboro, North Carolina. Pastor Niblett is extremely passionate about seeing communities grow and thrive. His work reflects this in his advocacy and coordination of public education programs on matters relating to social justice and equity. The International Civil Rights Center and Museum is proud to present Reverend Keishawn Niblett, Nia.
Greetings. My name is Keishawn, and it's such an honor to be celebrating Kwanzaa in such a powerful and transformative space and place where we honor those 4 freshmen who came to this exact location that we're in today to impact our nation in such a powerful way, especially on this 5th day of Kwanzaa, which we honor Nia, which is purpose. Those 4 young men came and sat down at this lunch counter fulfilling their purpose in transforming our nation for the better. Nia essentially is a commitment to the collective vocation of building, developing, and defending our community, its culture and history to regain and maintain our legacy and heritage of greatness as a people. To have a purpose is the reason for which we are created and the reason for which we exist. Our purpose consists of those factors that influence our drive of life, the reasons that we get up each morning, the reasons that we essentially continue to maintain our focus in life. Unfortunately, for some, purpose can lie dormant, buried beneath the surface of doubt, fear, and anxiety. I think often about so many people who just simply let go of life and purpose because of a mistake or a setback. But let me remind all of us today that there is something unique about purpose. It can be refined, it can be sharpened, it can be cultivated through hard times, setbacks, and even failures. Because at its core, at the core of purpose is a resilient power and strength called hope that can never be exhausted. Real purpose will guide you through life's rocky terrain. It will equip you with the hope that beyond the dark valley awaits a glorious promise. It reassures you with the peace that violent storms of life don't last always. When your purpose is grounded in hope, nothing can touch it. No liar can accuse it. No fire can burn it. No weapon can kill it. No enemy can hate it. No flood can drown it. No storm can drift it. No thief can steal it. No pressure can break it. No force can move it, and no power can conquer it. And this is the power of purpose that we celebrate in Nia, which calls us to the exceptional and collective vocation of building and developing our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. And this purpose should mean more to us now more than ever, especially in this moment in our collective history and during this, our transforming movement for racial justice. It is in this time that the truth of our heritage and legacy in America has come under attack with the tactics of fear and division, as entire legislative bodies attempt the erasure of our history through policies combating the critical race theory boogeyman, hiding in the closet of the conscience of those who embrace racism and bigotry. We find the greatest purpose in defending our truth, our legacy, our story that was birthed throughout the great kingdoms and civilizations of Africa. Our story, though disrupted from the very moment that the European slave ships left the coast of Africa, carrying a people so strong to endure the abuses, the trauma, and the burden of enslavement. A people who was forced to toil and labor under excruciating pain and agony. A people who was denied their freedom, though paying a sacrifice of blood, sweat, and tears. Yet these same people would still have the courage to stand and force a nation to be true to its promise on paper that all men and women are created equal. A people who would refuse to be treated as second-class citizens, fighting against the meaning laws of segregation and discrimination. A people that refuse to allow the terrorism of white supremacy through public torture and lynchings to keep them oppressed. Yet still they found the strength to press on. And we as a people must never forget our story, especially in a time when so many are being selective in telling the truth about our nation's past. And you know, when you don't know the truth about your history, you will be hoodwinked into believing the whitewashed versions of a narrative of the greatness of a nation of squatters on stolen land, decimating entire indigenous communities through mass genocide for the sake of greed. You run the risk of electing bigots into public office who will go public with their racism on parade, going unchecked. You will stay at home and not even bother to vote, forgetting the price that was paid for such a precious sacrifice. You will be bamboozled into believing that much of the injustice we experience today is the fault of our own community, while ignoring the truth that the 55 wealthy white elite who were the chief architects to the American experiment designed the system to be broken and bent to protect their wealth, their interest, and even their human property. And systematically, it is still fragmented today as communities are still being marginalized from certain economic resources to assist with affordable health care in the midst of a great pandemic. Mental health, education, housing, community development, and relief from poverty. When you ignore your history, people will make you believe that the greatest threat concerning terrorism in our nation comes from immigrants or thugs in the street, when in reality, this nation has a long history of white terrorist hate groups like the Ku Klux Klan that have always terrorized the communities of color through the burning, the bombing, and even the shooting up of churches, sacred spaces, homes, and even businesses. You know, we have a rich legacy and heritage that we must continue to honor and celebrate, as the greatness that this nation boasts would be nothing without the many contributions of life and culture by African Americans. The music wouldn't sound right. The art wouldn't look right. The food wouldn't be seasoned right. We would still have major crashes at intersections had it not been for Garrett Morgan. Ladies, what would the world be like had it not been for Madam C.J. Walker? And our modern smartphones would be nothing without the ingenuity of Henry Thomas Sampson. Mary McLeod Bethune once said, "We, as African Americans, must recognize that we are the custodians as well as the heirs of a great civilization. We have given something to the world as a race, and for this, we are proud and fully conscious of our place in the total picture of mankind's development. As guardians, as custodians of such a phenomenal greatness, it should be our purpose to ensure that in this moment in history, as we are continuing to write our own story, that we stand always ready to defend and preserve our heritage, but most importantly, continue building, growing, and expanding it through community advocacy and activism for economic, racial, environmental, political, educational, and even criminal justice. Growing it into the hearts and minds of our young people until their identity is inspired by the greatness of the legacy of their ancestors. Let our purpose be to continue building it until we pervade and occupy every institution and system that will no longer be able to deny us recognition and even access. As we take this day in renewing our collective purpose, let us never forget how we received it. One writer said, "Stony, the road we trod, bitter, the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered, out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast." Let us continue to cast that bright star as we continue to fulfill our purpose through Nia.